happened a lot with astrology. Is Sun Sign Astrology has become very popularized. And I think the reason Sun Sign Astrology became so popular isn't necessarily that the sun is more important than the other parts of the chart, but because it's just so easy to figure out if you know somebody's birth date. I think the other thing with Sun Sign Astrology that I know you and I have also discussed that I think is a really important topic to bring up is that a lot of people, they don't feel like they embody their sun sign. Really, your sun sign, you're trying to grow into that in this lifetime. So some people will embody their sun sign from a young age as children, and other people have to grow into it, and you usually will find the universe pushing you towards that. And it might not, you might not want to embrace your sun sign. You know, I think that's another thing to really think about is more not whether at this moment you embody your sun sign, but if the universe is trying to push you to learn some lessons. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I would say astrology, what I found to be most useful, particularly with my background with coaching and helping people to create better lives and work through problems, is it gives you a map as far as where to focus your energy on what qualities to develop. If you were to go around the zodiac and look at all 12, just read descriptions for all 12 sun signs, you would find that some portion of them describe you.
Right.
Or some portions of many of those sun sign descriptions would accurately describe you. The one that your sun happens to be in may or may not fit. I know some people very much are like their sun sign, some people kind of, some people not at all. But if you just went through Aries and Taurus and you'd be like, yeah, well that piece of Taurus sounds like me, but those other ones don't. So we have all of the zodiac within us. Everybody does. We have all of the 8 planets and the sun and the moon and the 12 houses are all represented in one way or another to some degree and in different kind of, what I like to think of as like an alchemical blend in our life. And that changes over the course of our life.
Right.
The way that showed up for you when you were 5 or 10 years old versus when you're 20 years old or 30, throughout your life is very different. I did a reading for somebody who was in her early 50s. And I was just, I was talking about the house that her son was in. She had a 12th house son. And she's like, yeah, that totally is accurate, but only in the last 3 years. Like, I hadn't got into, 12th houses associated with spirituality or larger institutions. Sometimes people are in, like, the media or government, something like that. And she's like, yeah, I wasn't into any of that stuff until, like, about 3 years ago, and then just a bunch of things happened, and, like, then I got very into it.
Okay.
So that's another piece, is, like, that very, very often people will not express whatever's indicated in their chart until a particular point in their life.
Okay.
So it's much easier to do a reading for somebody when they're older.
I see. Okay.
Because then it's like they've lived more of their life, and it's like, oh yeah, well at that point in my life that was true. But when somebody's young, it's like they haven't necessarily grown into their chart.
Right.
So doing astrology with younger people is interesting because then you can kind of encourage them, like, okay, like this is what I would suggest you kind of think about as you grow older.